My name is Eric Kaufman, and I'm the author of Awakening, A Not Too Distant Future. I wrote this book as a follow-up to a nonfiction book about creating sustainable and resilient communities around the world. I figured if I could write a science fiction love story, it might reach a larger audience because people are starting to figure out that we're running out of time and we have to start reconfiguring our communities. So now I'm going to read Chapter 1, Awakening, A Not Too Distant Future. Chapter 1, Awakening, A Not Too Distant Future. I've been preparing for this moment for years. How close I am to that moment hits me as I walk into what's considered the most decadent and exclusive club in Manhattan. It's one of the biggest kept secrets in New York. Otherwise, the remaining humans would have destroyed it by now. I don't know what repulses me more, the task at hand or the smell of a mixture of cheap perfume, alcohol, and outlawed cigarette smoke. I must convince the 5 biggest jerks in the history of humanity to back a relocation project to the moon as part of saving our species. Motivated purely by profit, their greed had grown along with their bank balances. If I can't show them the financial benefit of saving our species, we are lost. While not on their level, I know how to speak their language. That's why I was chosen for this mission. Striding through the darkened club, I keep my head held high and my shoulders back. I was dressed in an impeccably tailored Armani 3-piece suit. Specially designed with nanotechnology, the suit promoted the health and healing of human skin without sacrificing 1 ounce of style or comfort. One of the trillionaire jerks I was about to meet had ensured the continuing success of the brand, even though the original designer had been dead for over 50 years now. The trillionaires had kept up the decadence of the early 21st century, creating an illusion that everything was fine for the future. Yet the natural world continued to degrade, and artificial intelligence continued to rise, something they themselves were responsible for. Very few people realized the truth of who they were. In fact, very few people even knew they existed. My attention is caught by the acrobatic machinations of the young woman working the pole at the center of the room. She turns upside down at the top of the pole, her muscles clearly defined by each controlled movement of her body. There is something different about her. I pause to watch as she slowly spins upside down around the pole while her long blonde hair brushes the ground. As I try to work out what it is that is so different about her, her eyes catch mine. She pauses on the pole in position, staring at me for what seems like an eternity. Although there is an empty, fierce, calculating look in her eyes, my heart begins to race. I feel a surge of energy go through my body as if I've just touched a power source. Her eyes darken briefly from blue to brown, so quick I almost miss it. My brain suddenly registers the extra smoothness of her skin and the subtle energy circuits running through it. She's a hybrid human. One who had sacrificed the perfection of being human to become half AI. They were a danger to the continued survival of humans. I break eye contact with her, willing my heart rate to slow down and wiping my suddenly sweaty hands on the soft material of my trousers. My stomach churns. By the time I look back, she has wrapped her legs around the pole. Her continual spinning highlights every curve of her lithe body. As the spotlight on her flickers rapidly and amplifies the intensity of her movement. Loud clapping catches my attention. I look over to where an old man sits on one of the purple velvet sofas, his blonde head nodding up and down in approval. Another man sits next to him, his dark hand resting on his knee. There's a look of adoration on his face as he looks at the blonde man, ignoring the pole dancer. My eyes widen. This is one of the trillionaire jerks that I'm supposed to meet. Catching my eye, the old man winks at me before turning and brushing his lips against the other man's welcoming lips. No one is paying them any attention. On every sofa in the so-called gentlemen's club, there are men dressed in suits, accompanied by women of all shapes, colors, and sizes, who are dressed leaving very little to anyone's imagination. Alcohol flows freely, and so does the money that's exchanged between the men and women. These are the humans that I don't want to help save, the ones who still believed it was a man's world, when I knew it was already a future was female. So did many others. There is a rebellion brewing that could impact my plan to save humanity. We didn't know much about it, only that it was led by hybrid women who were tired of humanity's lack of action. After all the disease and famine that had ravaged the earth as the oceans rose and flooded the land, we still didn't live in a sustainable and resilient world. Things were only getting worse. As I scan the room, I find my contact standing at a door in the back of the club. He sees me and nods his head in recognition, his fatty jowls shaking as he does. Taking a deep breath in, I focus on each stride I take and remind myself of why I'm here. "Emil, great to see you again," I lie as I shake his hand, inwardly cringing at the feel of his sweaty, fat flesh in my hand. Yet I retain my composure. I know how to play this game. I appreciate this opportunity. Not at all. I'm excited about how we could exploit the moon's resources to increase our wealth. I find your ideas fascinating, and I know the group will do too. Opening the door, he invites me to enter first. With a fake smile on my face, I walk into the room to finally meet the trillionaires after years of work.
Okay.
That completes chapter 1 of Awakening, A Not Too Distant Future. I would love your comments and likes and review, anything about the book when you get a chance to read it. It's an interesting read, and I think you'll find it very informative. And it's my first time writing a love story, so I'm indebted to Tabitha Jane for helping me with the style, which is something I wasn't familiar with. And I want you all to also subscribe to my channel, because that will give you more and more information and content as we keep growing this field of building sustainable and resilient communities at a time when our species desperately needs that.